In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. Today I'm so excited to be sharing this time with you. We've got some amazing guests coming right up. Our first guest is here to talk to us about her book, Life Flip, Dr. Tammy Post. So let's welcome to the show, Dr. Tammy.
Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's such a joy to have someone who's so amazingly gifted as you to be part of the show. You do a little bit of everything, and gosh, you've got so many great credentials here.
Well, I've been a busy girl, that's for sure. I don't let much grass grow under my feet. I think that that might be a little ADD or whatever the case may be. I can't sit still.
Well, usually all the best people are kind of that way, aren't they? And I know for our listeners that are just maybe learning about you, you're an actual board-certified family physician.
I am, yes. And, it's interesting because I always knew myself to be a caretaker, even at a young age. I just always knew I was somehow a healer. And traditional medicine really didn't fit that box for me. And I really found myself a little bit incongruent with what I was practicing in regular medicine. So, I haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Traditional medicine has certainly, amazing advances that we take advantage of every single day. But I find that what most people struggle with, the chronic things, the fatigue, the hormone imbalances and all those kinds of things that are all related to stress and, probably not enough time here today to go into all the different diseases and things caused by stress. I really found myself reaching out to how I could help my patients the best. And what I found was there was so much emotional stress, so many needs as far as emotional and spiritual development with people that were going unmet that I really kind of got outside the box to address some of those things.
Well, and I think it's so important to have more people like you working in medicine because you do bring both, sides of the spectrum. You're very grounded, an amazing doctor, and at the same time you have the spiritual side because we need to treat people as a whole being as opposed to just the physicality.
Absolutely. I don't know how we've gotten so far away from that, and I always say I'm not knocking my colleagues, but I actually am because it's like, I got conditioned in medical school and residency to just treat symptoms. And, that's just, that's a reflection of the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm all about making money. Hey, the universe is abundant. Anything you want, you can have. But there seems to be this revolving door of people going in, not getting their spiritual and emotional needs met. And all these diseases are cropping up from those imbalances. And then the next thing you know, they're trying to give them a pill for that, and it's like, here's your Prozac, here's your Xanax, and then they get stressed and their blood pressure goes up and here's your blood pressure pill. And it's a very broken system in that sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and I would agree with you. A lot of times it's interesting when people work on something that is really affect them in a spiritual aspect, how much of the rest of them come into kind of an alignment in some ways, because they've been able to at least work through release or move through or pass certain things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I find that so many disease processes, especially weight loss, and I don't think of myself as a weight loss doctor, but that is the one unifying thing that tends to bring people into my office or when I give seminars. If I put belly fat on there, it brings people out in droves. Nobody really concentrated on, their spiritual or emotional development or health, but you put belly fat pack a room really quick. So, and what I tell people is that in of itself, being overweight, is a reflection of a bigger issue. It's a symptom. It's not, in of itself, a disease process. It's a symptom. And so that might be a symptom of the choices you're making. But a lot of my patients, when they come to me, they tell me they don't eat that much, and they eat pretty clean, and they're like, I don't understand why I can't get rid of this weight. And there's so many emotional layers that I believe that have, contributed to their poor health and those kinds of things, that until you address those things, nothing ever changes, or at least the sustainability. I tell people that there's this thing called dieting with interest, where you lose weight for a little while and then you gain it back plus some. And, that's just part of the process when you're just doing the quick fix, when you just go to your doctor and get a prescription for a stimulant or an appetite suppressant, and you're not changing the underlying core structure of your hormones or your fitness or your emotional or spiritual health.
Or any of because it all ties in together.
Absolutely.
Part of the package. Now, I know that you have a book that's changing lives, and it's appropriately titled Life Flip. Why don't you tell us a little bit of, what motivated you to write this book?
Well, the crazy thing is that I always had a lot of hormone issues. I experienced infertility. I experienced a lot of endometriosis, PCOS symptoms, just the whole gamut. I ended up with a hysterectomy. I thought I was going to lose my mind. And I felt like I was just asleep most of my life because I was just sick. I hurt all the time. I didn't sleep well. I was tired all the time. And I had a lot of excess estrogen because of those female hormone issues, and probably a lot of adrenaline and stress and cortisol from, the stress of going to school and residency and, all that kind of stuff as well. And because of the hormone imbalance, I had a huge amount of cortisol and estrogen, which made me very hippie. And I had a lot of weight in my belly and in my hips, and I never felt attractive. And so one day I just kind of woke up and said, I'm going to get the body of my dreams. And in fact, my mom and I there was a medical conference, and I asked her if she wanted to go with me out in Vegas. And we had these pictures taken. I don't know if you've ever done this or know anybody who's done this, but you can have your face put on a supermodel's body, or you can be on a cover of Sports Illustrated magazine or something like that. And there was this bikini model, and I had my face put on her body. And it just blew me away, because for the very first time, I believed that there was a possibility that I could have that body. And I'd never exercised or worked out or anything really before, and so I never really thought that was a possibility. And I think there's a wonderful saying that says, and I don't know if your followers or, that population, is into the law of attraction and thinking about manifestation. But you don't manifest what you want, because the law of attraction says think about things long enough, you'll get it. And in fact, when you want something bad enough, the very wanting is kind of pushing it away, because the wanting is kind of the absence of. And so I heard this saying one day that said, you manifest what you believe. And I thought that was so powerful. It's such a subtle difference between wanting and belief. But it was interesting, because when I saw that picture, I actually believed that I could have that body. So for the next year, I asked everyone I could, every bodybuilder friend that I knew, anyone who knew anything about maximizing your hormones for, sculpting. And it's crazy. I've got a couple of presentations I do where I actually show an after picture of me. And it's in a blue bikini, just like the picture. And it's, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that I literally manifested a body of my dreams.
Well, and I'm just going to interrupt for a quick minute, but that's a lot of hard work. So you brag away. It was
a lot of hard work. It was dedication. It was commitment every day to that. It was putting that on my vision board and saying, I believe that this is possible and I can do this, and there's no reason why I can't. And so the point of that whole story, as long as it was, is really that even after I did that, I didn't love myself. I really struggled with self-love. and feeling good enough. And of all the accomplishments and books I've written and, you know, having my own TV shows and radio shows and, you know, things that people would say, wow, you've done so much. It was never enough. There was always something more I had to do. And I just realized in that moment that even having, you know, a fitness model's body, I was not happy, and I was not happy in my life, and I was not happy in the things that were showing up. And that really started a journey for me to figure out what is happiness. And as I was working on what is happiness, what I really came to understand is that human beings in this, whatever this physical existence we're in, we are most happy when we are creating, when we're healing, or when we are contributing. And, you know, I really felt like, and again, you know, there's also this thing about your blueprint, when your blueprint doesn't match. And my blueprint really wasn't matching up, even though I had accomplished a lot of things. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't really feel like I was healing and like I was really creating on a level that really felt significant to me. So I started this learning process and praying and meditating and, you know, just like, please, God, you know, whatever the answer is, show it to me. And a healer from, he's worked with a lot of the Hawaiian healers, and he just kind of showed up out of nowhere. It was crazy and really had a lot of transformative effect on my life and started really kind of showing me some different paths. And one day I just kind of reached rock bottom, and you know, I just thought, if this is life, I don't want to live this way anymore because I don't understand what I'm here for. I've accomplished pretty much everything I've set out to that I've ever wanted, and I just don't get it. I don't know what this is about. And that's when this whole conscious creating process, this tool was, I call it a download from upstairs. It was just an answer to prayer. Mm-hmm. And so it completely transformed my life. In that for the first time I realized that my happiness was literally a choice. That in any given
important. Yeah.
Yes, in any given moment, it is completely up to me to make the choices in my life that contribute to my happiness. And no one else is in control of that, and I'm not in control of anyone else's happiness. And through this pathway of this conscious creating or this conscious engineering, one of the things that I came to understand was that our brains process most of the time out of the unconscious, about probably 80 to 90% unconscious. Mm-hmm. All of that's just programming. You know, you probably didn't even remember how you got to work this morning. You know, but if you were a 16-year-old learning to drive a car, everything is conscious. You know, the way you shift the gears, the way you put the key in the, the way the steering wheel feels in your hands. But after you've been on this planet almost 50 years, like me, you know, I get in the car and I can't even remember anything that happened, but even though your brain is recording every single event, you're not really even aware of it. You kind of think, wow, I don't even remember driving here. Mm-hmm. It's all unconscious. So part of this process is how do you move, you know, to use more of your conscious brain? And some people call that awareness. Some people call that, you know, mindfulness. And how do you shift that to be more mindful, more conscious? And when you're more conscious and you're creating from a conscious place that rather than an unconscious place, you control what shows up. But when you create from an unconscious place, you create things that are from your old programming. So all the same scenarios, it's kind of like, you know, when I work with women who want a different kind of relationship in their guy, like a new man, it's like you have got to move into consciously creating, because you're just going to attract more of the same dog cheaters or whatever that, you know, you've always had if you're attracting them in from that unconscious place. So basically the tools that are in the book were sort of just this awareness that I had that there are basically 4 different stages. And the first stage is this primitive consciousness, and it all is kind of based in just this primitive awareness, kind of like a caveman where you just think that things just happen. And it's very reactionary. It's kind of that stress, fight, or flight. Mm-hmm. And then in stage 2, it's very infant consciousness. It's very victim, kind of where we're sort of, as humans, you know, it's so easy because we have this learned helplessness. I heard one time that mammals, humans are the only mammals that are born premature. Every other animal in nature pretty much can walk or run at birth if they needed to. Oh, yeah. We are completely dependent, we have to be fed, we have to be, everything. So that stage 2, that infant consciousness is a stage where we experience a lot of overwhelm and blame and sort of this learned helplessness. And there's a lot of conformity in there. So one of the ways that you can move out of those stages into the higher vibrations, to the higher stages, is through just being aware that there's so many rules and so much conformity and things that we don't even, that they're not even our rules. They're not even our conformity. I heard the cutest little joke one time about a lady who always locked the end of her roast off when she cooked Sunday dinner. And her husband one day said, "Why do you always lock the end of your roast off?" And she said, "I don't know." And so she called her mom, and she said, "My mom always did that." And her mom said, "Well, I don't know." She said, "Call your grandma." So she called her grandma, and her grandma said, "Because my pan was too small." So how many things do we just conform to because that's the way it's always been done? And so it's so easy to blame and to feel overwhelmed in that stage. And in that stage, it's very subtle, but it things happen to me where you feel like things are always happening and happening to you. And I just had a girl in one of my workshops last night, and she said, this workshop series has changed my life because she said, I used to feel like I was the unluckiest person on the planet. And she's like, every day I just used to wait for what bad was going to happen today, what unlucky thing. And she's like, I didn't really think of myself as a negative person. But she said, I just walked around stage 2 all the time, just waiting for things to happen to me.
That's a bad place to be in.
Yeah. And a lot of people live in stage 3 all the time. And it's, it's really subtle, these kind of, this terminology that I'm kind of reviewing here from the book. But once you kind of understand the terminology, it's sort of a whole new way of thinking. And it's so funny because like my son, he's 12 now, and he'll be like, Mom, you're so stage 1 today, or you're so stage 2. And it just brings you into your conscious awareness that I am making a choice to be a victim here, that I'm just like, someone cuts me off in traffic and I have a choice whether to feel yucky towards them, or I have a choice just to go, I made a mistake, my bad, move on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like once the people around you become aware of the terminology as well, you start speaking it, and it sort of gives a lot of grace. So this is not a judgmental thing like, oh, you're so stage 1, but it's really just a conscious awareness so that you can create a different, from a positive place, a different scenario or a different set of circumstances.
Well, and I agree with you because it allows you to be, as you're saying, like present in the moment, take ownership of your personal power and not fall into that victim and say, okay, well, what's going on here? And then readjust as you go.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you can't ask for a better place than that. And with us being responsible for our own happiness, taking responsibility for everything we do is a big deal,
Absolutely. It's everything. If you want to create something different, if you want to create from a conscious place, if you want different things to show up. And I tell people, if you're happy with the way your life is, fine, keep doing what you're doing. It has no, you don't have to even hear this, but if you don't like the way life is showing up for you right now, then you're going to have to consciously make an effort to make something different show up. So that's the exciting thing about stage 3, which is the inspiration conscious. And, this is law of attraction stuff. This is inspired action. And in this stage, things happen for you, which is a great thing because even the things that we judge as bad, and I don't believe anything is really bad or good. It's all just experience. But, if something happens that you perceive as bad, how can you flip that, which is kind of the premise of the whole life flip thing. How can you flip that or reframe that to, well, I learned a really good lesson from that, or I'm a lot stronger now because of that, or, maybe if I hadn't been in that car wreck, I might have, something might have happened later down the road that, might have killed me, or, so things are happening for you, which is a much different experience than things are happening to you.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, because then you really are back again in that place of power. And that's what you talk about as far as like reframing your life story, is being able to look at a situation and then look for the positive, or look how you can make it so it, as you're saying, it's working for you.
Yeah. how many people are walking around with a story that's completely framed in the negative, and that's what they just keep creating from, all that unconscious stuff.
You know what, it's interesting, when I was a top sales manager, I would have agents all the time saying, well, now's not a good time to call the client because he's probably at lunch or he's probably doing this. So we make up the story in our head about what's going on, and a lot of times it's not even close to the truth.
Never. And it's all through a lens of stage 1 or stage 2, which is all fear-based, which if someone gets the book, they can actually see the table, but it's this continuum between fear to love. So everything in stage 3 or stage 4 is all love-based. So stage 4 is that limitless consciousness. And this is very subtle. So in stage 3, I said things happen for me. Well, in stage 4, things happen from me. So I don't know, if the listeners can hear that subtlety, but it's for me or from me. So in stage 4, you realize that you're actually creating all of your reality. And that's a very different place, and it's a very love-based place. And I tell people that stage 3 is the only stage you have to get to. You don't have to get to stage 4. So that's like, you can breathe and relax. Stage 4 is kind of like Buddha or Jesus or any of our, people or my husband. Oh my gosh, my husband is like the love guru. He's like stage 4 like all the time. It's like ridiculous. Sometimes I hate it just because I want to be that way. But it's like, we all dance in and out of stage 4 at, different times of our life. It's not like we don't get there, but, the goal is to maintain at least stage 3, 90% of your day so that you can create mostly from that positive experience. And there are some days when I'm in stage 1 or I'm stage 2 all day long, and I just really honor that. And I go, you know what, today as a human being, I just choose to be in stage 1, and I want to push around in that. And it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, and it's nice to have, as we have these moments, but we're still having these, we're allowing ourselves to be okay with where we're at,
Yeah.
as opposed to shoulding. Like, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. Now, if someone comes to you and they're like, I have no idea what I'm passionate about, I don't even think I have passion in me, how can you help them find their passion?
Well, a little bit of that is the unraveling. And what I find is, and these are all these kind of little different downloads that I got from upstairs. So as I started teaching this conscious creating model, and the only other thing I want to kind of say about that is I've actually got some tools in the book. So you can run your behaviors and your actions and your emotions and feelings through these little charts to kind of map where you are. I mean, you can kind of tell just from the way I'm describing those stages where you are. But if you, like when you're first learning, it's kind of like when I'm teaching people to count calories or something, the learning curve's a little steep in the beginning. So you can run your behaviors like I threw something or I yelled at someone. Oh, that's stage 1. So, and then I've got like little steps that can help you maintain or to move into stage 3. And one of them is zooming out and gratitude and breathing and, the things we think of as stress relief as well. So I think the first step is to be aware of where you're creating from. And being in stage 3 is where you create consciously inspired action things in your life. And so if you want to create your passion, well, your passion comes from inspired action. And if you're shut down and restricted and your vibration is very low and you're tired and you're overwhelmed and you barely can get through your day and you hate your job, you're never going to find your passion in that state. So the first thing is you have to find this awareness and just choose those feelings, because nothing's more important than the way you feel, because you navigate basically your conscious creating by the way you feel and your emotions. So if you can get to stage 3 and maintain that, now you can find your passion. And the interesting thing with finding your passion is that your passion is with you right now. And everybody wants to say, I need to find my passion. Like it's something out there, like it's hiding in the woods in a little treasure box very deep. And it's like this cruel joke that you don't have access to it. And I believe that every single person that has this human flesh around them knows what their passion really is. But they're operating from a fearful stage 1 or stage 2 place, or they're overwhelmed and they're blaming and they're saying, I think a good example of that is when I was
a teenager. I'm almost 6 feet tall, and I wanted to be a supermodel. And my mom said, no, you have to go do the responsible thing and go to medical school. And so I blamed her for many, many, many years because I said, you know what, I didn't follow my passion. I didn't end up in LA doing what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
My mom made me go to medical school. So everyone has got that seed of something that they want to do. And, you know, it doesn't mean that, like at this point in the game, like I want to go be a supermodel, but there are certain things as far as being out there in the public eye and, you know, putting myself out there that are still very important to me. So my passion is to share my message and to help heal and create and help others heal and create. And so I'm not going to be a victim I just have to be. I went to medical school. My mother made me go to medical school. So I got to sit in a little office all day long and I got to see 60 patients a day. So, you know, I've moved out of that victim stage. So I'm in stage 3. And now I have this inspired action where opportunities show up, like getting to talk to Marianne today or, you know, all the beautiful serendipitous things by just saying, you know, I'm going to create and I'm going to create what feels good and what feels fun. And so when I stopped being a victim, then I started creating my own TV show, my own radio show, and writing my own books and putting myself out there. And then people invite me to be a part of their stuff. So I'm so blessed and thankful that you've, you know, had me on your show today. So, you know, that's where inspired action comes from. But had I not put myself out there in that way and I'd still been feeling like a victim in that little office being with patients all day long, this opportunity wouldn't have come open. So your passion is there. You just have to reach out and take little actionable steps to get you towards it every single day. And like you said, those terrible shoulds will keep you from pursuing your passion. There's some people who,
Yeah, no, go ahead. I agree with you. I think there are people that just go beyond that, you know.
Yeah, and so, it doesn't mean that, whatever that big vision or that big dream is that you had when you were 11 playing with your Barbies and acting that out, that necessarily has, but there's something in there that you love, that you're passionate about. And some of the gurus and teachers that I followed have actually said that passion in your career, passion in your work is built from experience, because the more confident you are in doing something, the better you feel about moving forward in that, and the more passion that gets built. Because passion is just emotion. Passion is just energy. Passion is not that thing. Passion is not that dream, anchor job that you dream of having. The passion is the emotion that's created while you're getting there. So if you're going to manifest that, you have to have the feeling of that thing, and then it shows up, and we all have it backwards. We think that you have to have the manifestation first, and then feel the emotion of it when you get it. And it's completely opposite. It cannot come to you if you're pushing it away because you're waiting for it to happen.
Oh, without a doubt. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, as a, as a top sales manager, and, after you win all the awards and have all the accolades, at the end of the day, for me, it was like, okay, well, I've done all this, now what? And so I can really relate with your story, because it's kind of like you accomplish so much, and then afterwards you're like, well, this isn't getting me any happier than, what I was yesterday before all these, these little trinkets. So it's interesting to really kind of go deeper and look at what's driving the passion, what's fueling that, and feeding off of that instead. Maybe it's helping people or showing people a new way, like you are. It's like, hey, if you've got something going on with your body and you want to change it, it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, staying stuck in stage 2, being that victim. I hear so many people tell me, well, my mom and my grandma were overweight, and so, hey, I had that too. I've got the genetics of big women with big hips that were just moms and grandmas, and, that was just the way it was. And I remember my mom telling me when I got pregnant with my son, I was wearing a miniskirt, and she said, you better just enjoy that miniskirt today, kiss it goodbye, because you'll never see it again after you have children. And it's just this programming is just, you're going to be a mom, and you're going to never get your body back. And it's like, just stop. Just stop with listening to that messaging and just buying what people are telling you. Or if you've got cancer or if you've got some illness and the doctors are saying you've got 3 months to live, that is completely, excuse me for saying, but crap, because you have complete control over your circumstances and choices, and your healing is completely at your choice and your discretion. I totally believe that with every bit in me. In fact, I tell people that most people get better in spite of their doctors. You look at chemotherapy and radiation and all that crazy stuff. It's actually killing them. They must have some pretty strong results to survive that and survive their cancer, which is crazy.
It is just mind blowing, how the human spirit can endure so much, It really is. Well, Dr. Tammy, gosh, I could stay chatting with you all day long. I just love, your energy and the information that you bring. Where can our listeners connect with you and find you? And let's also talk a little bit about your radio show, because I know you've got a fabulous show.
Yes, it's so fun. It's called The Naked Doctor Show. And it's funny because we're kind of in the Bible Belt here, and a lot of people, when they first started listening to the show, said, do you realize when you do an internet search for your show, what comes up? So I'm like, I'm sorry about that, but,
I'm well aware, yeah.
And the reason I called it that was because I want it to be the naked truth about health. And it started out because I'm kind of known as the hormone queen. I do bioidentical hormones, and I help people get their health back on track. And all of that, really, even that is just a choice. I mean, if people are stressed out and they're in stage 1 or stage 2, their hormones are never going to be balanced, regardless how many prescriptions I write for estrogen or progesterone or testosterone. So I really believe in that holistic approach of, doing all this. But on the Naked Doctor Show, we, bring in guests and we talk about different mind, body, spirit things and health and lifestyle. But it's the things that you won't hear out there from your traditional doctors, unfortunately, and from, the mainstream. So that's the naked truth. So I love that. And we have a website, so there's live streaming, and you can watch it. The show is actually on the weekend. And then we have a TV show as well, and all the information is there for the TV show. So we actually film live in the studio as well. And people can go there. And then our Facebook page is the Naked Doctor Show Facebook page.
Oh. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tammy, for taking the time to be on the show with us here today. We so appreciate you spending this time, and we are definitely going to have you back on with us.
I would love that. Thank you so much. It was so much fun. You're just a joy.
Oh, thank you. And for our listeners, we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Are you a successful entrepreneur or sales professional, but you're ready to take your success to the next level? I'm Bob Berg, and I invite you to join me at our next Go Giver Sales Academy. You'll learn how to communicate your exceptional value to more people, sell at full price, become objection-proof, and embrace the abundance that's your birthright. Limited to just 12 people, so it's personalized, impactful, and transformational. Visit GoGiverSalesAcademy.com and see what others are saying.
During times of uncertainty, challenges, and change, how do we find a ray of hope to move forward? In Amy Van Addeslater's best-selling book, Moments, Magic, Miracles, and Martinis, she offers a torch of inspiration, motivation, mindfulness, and authenticity that illuminates even the most desperate of situations with possibility. Order your copy today to see what the buzz is all about at www.amyvslater.com.
This is Tanya Carroll Richardson, author of the new book, Angel Insights. I used my psychic gifts to get messages from the angels to write this book, and I'd like to help you get personalized messages from your own angels. Learn your subconscious blocks, make sense of the past and present, and receive advice about navigating your future in an angel reading at tanyablessings.com. Book a session with me and your angels at tanyablessings.com.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We have another very exciting guest that's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. Her name is May McCarthy. She has co-founded and helped grow 6 successful companies to as large as $100 million in annual revenue. She is the author of The Path to Wealth, speaker, university lecturer, and angel investor. So let's welcome to the show, May.
Oh, Marianne, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Well, so you've got this fabulous book that I know is just flying off the shelves, and I just had to have you on the show to talk about this, and also you just have so much expertise in this area.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so what inspired you to write The Path to Wealth?
You know, I ended up getting a book from my mother when I was 18 years old, and she was a devout Catholic who had converted from Seventh-day Adventist. And she gave me this little book called The Game of Life, which was published in 1925. And it was a New Thought book, and I read that, and I used the principles of your words, your thoughts, and your emotions to create the life that you wanted. And from that moment, I was able to get through college with honors in 3 years while growing a business with 250 employees. And I've had 6 different companies, with the largest being over $100 million in annual revenues. And I attribute this success that I've had to these spiritual principles. Well, I ended up at a New Thought Center here in Seattle, and I'm a big believer in the law of giving and receiving. And so they asked me, what are you doing to give us, so much, to support us in such a great way? And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was a trick question. So I, sheepishly looked at them and I said, well, I'm doing what you guys teach here, isn't that right? And of course they laughed and said, no, but your giving rate is substantial. What are you doing to be so successful? So I explained to them this daily practice that I had created using business goal attainment principles and these spiritual principles in a very efficient daily practice. So they asked me if I'd teach it. And I did that, and I taught the workshop several times, and after about the 500th person that had gone through the workshop with success, they had asked me if I would write a book to include all of the stories that I tell in the workshop. I give everybody a 28-page workbook, but I don't include any of the application stories in writing. So they asked me to write a book, and I'll be honest with you, that wasn't supposed to be part of my resume, but I went forward because I was called to do it, and was really surprised that it made it to number 2 in Amazon as a bestseller.
Well, I am not. I mean, the book, in it, The Path to Wealth, the book itself has so much wonderful information in regards to moving forward in your life, and I think our listeners are really going to resonate with this. In your book, you talk about a CSO. Who and what is our CSO?
Well, in my belief, I believe that we are all part of one divine creative energy and intelligence. We are part of the same stuff. But we can call different characteristics of spirit by different names. We can call it truth, power, love, lots of different names. And I decided that I wanted to partner with the advisor, the ultimate advisor characteristic of this all-knowing universal power. And so I decided as a CEO that I surround myself with people whose advice I value. I have a CFO that advises us on the financial health of our company, a chief marketing officer, a chief information officer, and the list goes on. And I decided that this ultimate advisor characteristic of spirit could be brought into my business. So I gave it a title of Chief Spiritual Officer and placed it at the top of my org chart so that I, as the CEO, reported to it. It was really funny when my employees asked me, who the CSO was, and I explained to them that that was a symbol, that we were going to be what looked like a miracle-making company. We were going to have things happen, thoughts and creative ideas and intuitive messaging that would help us to make decisions regarding achieving our goals for our company, for our coworkers, our customers, our suppliers and vendors in our world. And that what they needed to do was to expect that they were going to receive some messaging that was beyond their rational mind to help them achieve their goals. Well, that happened, Marianne. We started getting all sorts of different intuitive messages, creative ideas, thinking outside the box, working together cohesively as a team, and we really became that miracle-making company that I described. And what I asked them to do was just consider for a moment that could come from some sort of divine intelligence, and that's what this CSO represented. And we had so much fun. Really, really a lot of fun.
And what a delicious thing to include a CSO in your business. You're really trusting that intuition and those little mental nudges that you get moving forward.
Yeah, we had all sorts of things. It got to be sort of a game. I'd get text messages and emails and phone calls from our employees saying, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what the CSO did. We were in the middle of a disaster." And then all of a sudden, this thought flew into my head and I knew what to do. And when they follow it, they just have a good outcome every time. So that's what I teach is how we can partner with that ultimate advisor characteristic of spirit in a really efficient daily practice to establish and achieve any goals that we want. And my book is called The Path to Wealth, but for me, the definition of wealth means being whole and complete, lacking nothing in all areas of your life, not just your finances, but your relationships, your health, your recreation, your use of skills and talents in remarkable and fulfilling ways.
And what a great place of personal empowerment for your employees, the people that you do coaching with, to come from, when they're relying on that intuition. And I kind of want to circle the wagons back around to that. Now, you talk about intuition being a great part of, your company's success. How did that really come about where you're like, wow, I'm really trusting what it is that I'm getting?
Well, yeah, first of all, we always trust things when we start to have proof. And so the first thing to do is notice that stuff can show up that's beyond our rational mind. Albert Einstein put it perfectly. He said that we all have an intuitive mind that's a gift, and we have a rational mind that's a faithful servant. But somehow in our society, we honor this servant, this rational mind, and we forget the intuitive gift. And more so now than ever, because we are a world of data. When we have a question about anything, what do? We Google it. We talk to our friends about it. We go look for subject matter experts. We analyze it, measure it, evaluate it before we'll ever take a step to make a choice to take action towards our goals. And what intuition does is it points the way, but you don't get to know what the outcome is. So just like Steve Jobs said, you actually have to have courage to follow your heart and your intuition. And he and Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey and Steven Spielberg and Thomas Edison and countless numbers of very successful people say that they use relying on intuition as a success tool. And what I do in my book is teach people how to do that. And it's really simple. If you get a thought that flies into your head that, about someone, that means call them. If you get a gut instinct to do something, do it. Now, there's going to be some times where your rational mind is just trying to make you fearful or doubtful. And if you are in that place, you can always just ask for another lead. CSO, I need another lead. And you'll get one. So as soon as you get enough confirmation that it's okay to take the step, even though you can't rationalize what's going to happen, as soon as you get enough confirmation to take the step, you just need to take it. I had this one instance where one of my goals for one of my companies was to increase our sales revenue by $400,000 or more during this particular period of time. And I flew into Cleveland, got my bags, got my rent-a-car, went to the hotel, dropped everything off, and then I got back in my car to go to the closest grocery store to get protein shakes and water and things that I needed for my stay. As I'm in the car, I get this really strong thought about a grocery store that's 15 minutes away. Now, the rational mind is saying, May, don't even consider driving to that store. It's 9 o'clock at night, across Cleveland. You don't want to do that. And your appointment's tomorrow morning at 8. You're going to be way too tired. Well, what you have to do is just say, stop. CSO, if this leads from you, give me another lead. Well, now your rational mind gets to pipe in. Well, it's true, it's 9 o'clock at night, but it's really only 6 o'clock in Seattle. You can't go to sleep anyway. It's too early. Plus, everything you want might be on sale. Just make the drive. So I did. As I'm walking in, who should be walking out at exactly the same time? But a potential customer that I met at a trade show 6 months before, but he wasn't returning any of my phone calls or email requests for a meeting. And here he is standing in front of me. During the course of our conversation, he learned that our company had been growing. Some of his friends at other hospitals were buying from us, and he invited me to come make a presentation. Well, that led to another one and a contract worth over $500,000.
Oh, my goodness.
None of us
make that stuff up.
No, and there are countless numbers of stories like that. But as Steve Jobs said, you have to have courage. And I teach people how to essentially create that in my book.
Well, and that's actually leads me to my next question. You talk about courage. So what are some tips for our listeners if they want to further develop their intuition?
Well, first of all, to be aware. To be aware. Make sure that when you're using your words and your thoughts and your emotions, that you're focusing on what you want as though it's already completed. Do you remember the last time that you were in the market for a car? Okay, so if you're like most people, you think about the car, you talk about the car, you maybe go test drive a car, and you start to imagine what it's going to be like to have the car, you plan everything out, and don't you start to notice that car driving around everywhere?
Yeah, you'll see it every place you go. Like, there's that car in all the different colors or the colors you want.
Right. So when you describe every single morning, you write down, read out loud, and imagine your goals as already completed. So instead of saying, I want to lose 10 pounds, you would say, I'm so grateful that I'm physically fit, trim, toned, energetic, in a healthy body. That way, your subconscious and your intuition are going to show up to illuminate possible steps that you can take to achieve that goal. If your goal is just to, I want to lose 10 pounds, you've already reached your goal. You already want to lose 10 pounds. You're there. But if you describe it as though it's already complete, just like that feeling of having that car before you actually bought it, your subconscious and intuition will show up to give you some guidance to take steps to notice possibilities for you to achieve that goal.
So really, it's once we have that that faith and that trust in what it is that we're getting, it will continuously show up for us.
Right. And the way that we activate it is to describe things in writing, reading out loud every single morning. Write down your goals as though they're already complete with gratitude. Read them out loud with emotion, and then pick one or two and close your eyes and use a technique that many athletes, professional musicians, and even business people use. We will see ourselves in the completed goal. If we want great relationships with our family and friends, we'll see ourselves maybe at a party or sitting around the dinner table laughing and enjoying our friendships. If we want more money, we'll see ourselves looking at our checkbook or our online banking and noticing that our bank account is larger. If we want healthy body, we'll see ourselves in a trim and physically fit body, hiking and walking with our family and friends and having a good time. So every day, write it down, read it out loud, and imagine being in the completed goal. And when you do that, you activate your intuition and your subconscious to show up and help you.
And that's just beautiful, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And I think, sometimes people make it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. Is that one of the kind of common mistakes that people make? Is like, gosh, this should be much harder.
Well, sure. A lot of people have come from a place where everything has to be a struggle. That's a belief and a behavior that they've created over a lifetime. And so for something to be too easy doesn't match up with their beliefs. So they try to overcomplicate things. That's one thing. And the other thing is they start to talk about what they don't want. If you say, I don't want my boss to continue to treat me poorly, guess what's going to happen? Your boss is going to continue to treat you poorly because whatever you focus your attention on, you're going to see more evidence of that occurring. If you don't want Uncle Bob to be, a pain in everyone's neck at the family reunion, well, you should be describing that you're having a great time at the family reunion. I'm so grateful that I get to go to the family reunion and we all have a great time and operate in harmony and peace. It may be that you're led to walk out of a room before Uncle Bob even walks in. Mm-hmm. You may not notice any evidence of Uncle Bob just being Uncle Bob. But if you start saying, I don't want Uncle Bob to be a pain, you're going to start to notice more evidence of what you don't want happening. So you need to focus your words, your thoughts, and emotions on what you want, not what you don't want.
So what are some, if you probably come across this where people saying, gosh, I really work on trying to focus on what I don't want, on what I want as opposed to what I don't want. But the stuff that I don't want is just, in my face and I have a hard time. Are there any tips that you have for those people, those listeners, that they would be able to kind of walk themselves out of that?
Well, give me an example, first of all, of something that someone wouldn't want.
Okay, well, let's say like someone probably doesn't want to have a negative bank account. Because I know a lot of people that usually come and talk to me, finance is like a number one thing for them.
Okay, so they don't want to experience lack.
No lack.
They don't want to be in debt.
No.
Okay, well, they've already reached their goal.
There you go.
Yeah, so they've already reached it. So a better way to describe it is every day with words, thoughts, and emotions, describing yourself in the completed goal. I'm so grateful that I am financially free, with more than enough money to do whatever I want whenever I want to. Each month when I pay my bills with gratitude, I always have more money left over than I did the previous month before, and I'm able to enjoy it with my family.
There you go.
I'm so grateful that I am now debt-free, cash flow positive, and profitable at all times in all ways.
It's really just refocusing, the constant refocusing.
Right, and then also, in my book, I describe keeping some affirmations and what I call denials around, and so that you can whip those out when you start to have thoughts of doubt. You want to starve out those thoughts of doubt and those thoughts of fear with your words, your thoughts, and your emotions. And the way to do that is to arm yourself with little Post-it notes or note cards that have pre-written affirmations and denials. I have a friend of mine who's in her 30s. Now, her parents, her grandparents, and all of her siblings had reached their late 20s and had already been diagnosed with diabetes. And so from a little girl, she was told all her life she was going to have diabetes. Mm-hmm. So sad.
That's
all her life.
Horrible
she was
programming.
Told. Yeah, all of her life. And then she decided, no, I don't want that. So every time when she was starting to change her beliefs to become what she wanted them to become, which is a healthy body and a healthy lifestyle, she had to keep some note cards around with her that had a denial that would blow up the fearful thought, followed by an affirmation. So her denial was, I deny that my family history has anything to do with my future perfect health. And then she followed it with an affirmation. I now go forward to have a physically fit, trim, toned, energetic, healthy body that is pain-free and easily able to move through life. So you need to have those around too until that belief becomes stronger than the old beliefs.
It really is that reprogramming. And I know in your book you do talk about building new neural pathways in order to attract success. And a lot of it is that repetition. It's that retraining of our brain. Yeah. So.
But that's good news. That's good news. Yay.
Yeah, we don't have to be stuck in old paradigms, you know?
Exactly. We can create whatever life we want.
That is absolutely beautiful. Well, I know you to be a highly successful businesswoman and that you do coaching and have opportunities where you're either working with individuals or with corporations and companies. Where could our listeners find you to connect with you?
If they just go to maymccarthy.com, that's my name, May, M-A-Y, McCarthy, McCarthy.com. They can see information about my book, about the services that we offer. I'm also hired by lots of groups to come in and speak and do workshops, and we have a lot of fun, lots and lots of fun. And so all the events that are public are listed on my website. There's a whole bunch more that I am just hired to come in and work with private groups. So we offer all of that as well.
Well, and I know that you have quite a few events coming up that are with different centers for spiritual living across the U.S. So any of our listeners, either in Boston area or anywhere in the U.S., would be able to go ahead and attend one of your events, and those are listed on your website as well. And I urge them to go out and pick up your book, The Path to Wealth, and be part of your community. Don't forget to sign up for May's newsletter. So thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today, May.
Marianne, you're so welcome. And also for your listeners, if they go to maymccarthy.com, there's a way for them to download the first 3 chapters for free.
Ooh, that's a good gift. And I know you have a video that they can watch and learn more about all the wonderful things you do, because you are pushing people. You're on that leading edge of new thought when it comes to developing personal success. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate having you here.
That's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank you for tuning in with us. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pestana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepestana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.